para compartir algunos mates con Vitalik. Así que vamos. Así que arrancamos con Vitalik explicándonos. Explicándonos el merge en el castellano. A ver.
Explicar el merge este es muy difícil. Entonces, ahora nosotros tenemos una cadena de bloques. El nombre de esta cadena de bloques es Ethereum. Y una cadena de bloques necesita un algoritmo de consensos. Ahora utilizamos un algoritmo que se llama prueba de trabajo. Y prueba de trabajo es un algoritmo muy bien. Nosotros utilizamos hace muchos años, pero tiene muchos problemas. Un problema muy grande está que la prueba de trabajo necesita usar mucha energía. Entonces, nosotros hicimos un algoritmo proof of stake. Yo no sé cómo proof of stake, como se dice en español. Pero nosotros hicimos este algoritmo hace 7 años y en la próxima vez vamos a convertir Ethereum a Proof of Stake. Es un proceso muy difícil y necesito la cooperación de muchos, ¿cómo se dice? Developers.
Desarrolladores.
Sí, desarrolladores que trabajaron mucho tiempo para hacer el software.
Perfecto.
Sí, ok. Y en el próximo vez vamos a convertir a nuestra cadena vamos a hacer un tenedor duro en la cadena de Proof of Stake. Y para... okay. Enough for now. Sí. No more proof of work. Yay.
Hey, bueno, un aplauso impresionante.
Okay. Maybe... I don't know. I think I need a couple of more years and probably spend a year in Latin America the same way I did in China. But we'll get there.
That was good. That was good. I think I took private lessons in Argentina for about a year before I got there, so you're way ahead of me. I'm sort of curious, where does your passion for being a polyglot and learning languages come from? Is it from moving at an early age? Because you've learned a lot of languages.
Good question. I guess I started, by the way, sorry, just quick technical thing. I'm hearing an echo. Is there any way to make me not hear an echo? Or
probably not.
Okay, that's fine. Sorry. It just interferes with my brain processing to kind of hear my words 400 milliseconds after they come out of my mouth, but I'll try to get past it.
And you still did that in Spanish. Wow.
But okay, anyway, so I started, right, so I moved to Canada when I was 6. Moved to Canada when I was 6. I learned English to get there, obviously. I started learning French in school.
We lost you. That might be a sound on our part.
Oh, no, yeah, no, so I guess...
Now you're back.
Okay, perfect. I started learning French in school when I was around 10, and because, everyone in Canada learns French, and I guess I don't know. I just like actually tried hard because I got like indoctrinated with weird ideology or that made me want to be an actually good student. I yeah, but well, okay. I mean, it gets weirder. Like, actually to get into this a bit. So I remember like my dad was very into kind of Austrian economics and like Doug Casey and those kinds of people, and so I started listening to them, and I got very convinced that like the U.S. dollar would hyperinflate and the economy would collapse within 2 years, and so I had to like try really hard at every subject just to have like any chance at surviving and like making sure I could earn money to eat. So
That's a very controversial view in Argentina, by the way.
yeah, no, but no, I mean, yeah, you guys have been doing an amazing job adapting to the exchange rates and like just still having such an impressive country where like all of these projects and events happen. It's everything I've seen is great, but it's yeah, so I guess actually learned French, and then I just thought that I would want to like learn a couple of more. And I remember seeing some articles in the Bitcoin space talking about how awesome and like the Bitcoin community in China is, and where it's like this big sort of underworld that the Western world totally did not know about, and there were these entire exchanges that had even more employees than the Western ones did. So I figured, okay, I'll like learn some Chinese and sort of try to get into it, and I guess things went from there. I don't know.
Okay, so let's switch gears and talk about yesterday was a dark day in this space. Every speaker mentioned one of the developers of Tornado Cash being arrested in Holland. Of course, it's amusing because I have a Dutch last name and so does Jacob.
Really? I thought your last name was named after that street in San Francisco.
Yeah. Well, the Van Ness has been in America for a long time. So, Tornado Cash, we don't know the facts of what happened in Holland. Maybe that will come out. Maybe there's things that we don't know. But obviously, crossing the line between free speech of writing code and computer code and that being criminalized is something that the West has not done really ever or since the encryption wars. And here in Argentina, there are rumors that the Argentine federal government is going to come down with some very heavy-handed stablecoin regulations. So how do you think about this whole situation? How should Ethereum think about this? I think a lot of us are extremely troubled at the what appears to be malicious but might just be amateurish regulation.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely a major escalation on the government side to like basically go after something that's it's a piece of code. It's not a corporation. It's not like a system that's actively running. It's just a smart contract on the blockchain and a pile of JavaScript and HTML that's sitting there on IPFS. So I mean, I definitely see the parallels to what happened back in the 1990s, where we had the PGP algorithms, and got put on a T-shirt just to kind of make the point that like, hey, this really is just a piece of code, and that's you can explain it to people how to use it in a couple of hundred words. So again, I definitely continue to support all of the amazing like groups like Coin Center and friends that are doing all of this kind of regulatory work in the U.S. To try to kind of make the make and explain the case for why what the crypto industry is doing is both legal and is kind of good and important and even aligns with values that like not just our community care about, but even values that people in like even governments like the United States and others as well also care about. And I am I expect that this is only the start of the story, and there is going to be a lot of a kind of work going on from a lot of just a lot of different people in the space. I should also add that like I've been impressed by kind of the solidarity in the crypto space that's come as a result of this. We've like 2 weeks ago, I think a lot of us got kind of upset because of some of the kind of fringy Bitcoin voices that were trying to kind of yell about Ethereum being a security. But this week it was completely different, and a lot of like even the hardline maximalists were very supportive of what these hardworking development teams on Ethereum were doing, and the right of both the people and the software that they're building to continue to exist in a free society. So I think big round of applause to the Bitcoin community and other crypto communities there as well. So I think we're, despite our very frequent Twitter wars on all sorts of subjects, I think as a community, we know when is the time for solidarity, and I feel confident that ultimately, we can work together and get through this.
So we're here in Buenos Aires, and one thing, of course, from gas fees being high is that a lot of people here, unfortunately, ended up using a lot of centralized chains that, things like Luna, and like real people got hurt by, some unfortunately very shady things. So I'm sort of curious about, is Ethereum, we're all in on layer 2 and rollups. How do you feel about, are you frustrated by the rate of layer 2 adoption? What do we need to do? At what point would you recommend to a family member to put a majority of their assets on a rollup of their crypto assets?
This is a good and important question. I think so. The reason why I think layer 2s haven't been succeeding enough is like, one, they are alpha software, and two, the fees are still not quite low enough. Right? Like, for example, I'm just going to go to, I think it's like l2fees.info literally right now, and just check what's going on. So Ethereum network, the fee to send ETH is 46 cents. Arbitrum 1, 13 cents. Optimism, 7 cents. And then Loopring and ZK Sync, 2 and 3 cents, right? So Loopring and ZK Sync actually, they are within sort of my famous, 5-cent boundary where, like, if it costs more than 5 cents, we're not really the internet of money. The Loopring and ZK Sync actually are under the threshold, but the others are not yet. And the reason is that, like, there's just a lot of kind of technology that they haven't fully developed, because like adapting it all to kind of the Ethereum context and making it work with the complexities of the EVM is really hard, right? So I published on my Twitter about a week ago this kind of diagram, right, where I'm basically talking about like transaction compression. And how an ERC20 transfer by itself takes about 188 bytes. But if you try really hard, you could compress it to like 23 bytes or like even a bit less. But actually doing that compression, like that takes work. There's infrastructure that has to be made. So the very first step of that, like the 0-byte compression, that's something that Optimism only added a couple of months ago. And that's only the first step of the roadmap, right? Like there's a lot more that they can and need to do. So that's one thing. And then at the same time, there's stuff like proto-dank sharding and full dank sharding, and the roadmap to increase the amount of data on the Ethereum chain itself, right? So like in the medium to longer term future, rollups can, I think, actually be cheap enough to like really be attractive to regular users, but they're not quite there yet, right? I mean, 7 cents is like fine, but we have to remember that we are in a kind of relative bear market compared to last year. Last year it was like Ethereum transactions cost $4 or $5, and like even Optimism and Arbitrum cost something like $1, right? Which is too much for people, right? So like I've always had this attitude that I'm. Like I totally understand why people want to use kind of centralized solutions right now, right? Because like if all you have is like $72 of ETH, then you're not going to be willing to like pay $8 on chain or even $2 on chain every time you want to do something with it, and that's totally understandable. But I think from a technology perspective, that is actually something that's going to be solved and improved over time, which I think is good, right? So I think scalability is improving. I mean, on the topic of like stable coins, I think, I mean, this year we've definitely had some kind of very positive kind of, what was the word, a wake up calls, right? Like it almost feels like at the beginning of the year, people who really believed in like principles based thinking were feeling like, I kind of feel like we were feeling a bit demoralized, right? Because like we have all of these theory land arguments about how, oh, there's no sustainable way to offer 20% APR, and things that are offering 20% APR are actually totally scams. And then,
Amen.
like if you would say that on Twitter, like you basically get, shouted down by like essentially internet frogs that are saying like, look at the market, it's going up. What do you mean? Stop being such a nub. Have fun staying poor. Like it's hard to argue against like frogs telling you to have fun staying poor with logic, right? But what can you argue against green frogs telling you to have fun staying poor with? Well, when something happens and the green frogs themselves are the ones that have to have fun staying poor, right? So I think like a lot of people learned their lesson, and like I think to be clear, I think there's a lot of people who kind of really deserve it because they are very kind of sophisticated and even wealthy people, and they knew what they were getting into, and often they were even actively getting other people into some of these really dangerous games. But like there are also lots of like very innocent people who just did not understand what these systems are, who relied on kind of trusted community figures that they looked up to tell them like what's worth doing and participating in and what's not worth it participating in. And these are all like totally fine and I think reasonable ways to operate as a human being, right? Like I'm not going to like personally inspect the spacecraft that ends up like taking me to Mars if I end up going to Mars someday, right? Because that's just not in my area of expertise. And like there's like we have to specialize. I think ultimately, we're building trust minimized software, but we still have to rely on trust. We still have to rely on a community. And I think there were a lot of people who put themselves in positions of trust and like ended up really basically betraying a lot of people, right? So I think, yeah, so like my view toward the kind of the Terra thing is like I have sympathy to sort of especially a lot of the kind of smallholders who were kind of just told about like, hey, there's this cool thing and it's crypto and it'll give you interest rates. But kind of definitely very deep negative feelings for kind of the multimillionaires and VC funds that were kind of like loudly shilling this stuff on the internet and like cheering for USD and Luna to kind of basically take over and destroy DAI. So that's but it happened, and I think people learned. And like we have clear examples to point to that I think are going to remind a lot of people to sort of not do any of that again. But I mean, it could have happened much better, obviously, right? Like I think it would have been better for the world if Luna collapsed at 5 billion instead of 50 billion. It would be even better, I think, if we can try to like have a community layer that does a better job of kind of directing people to projects that actually make sense and warning people against the projects that don't. So like
unfollow the influencers that told you to buy Luna. Seriously.
Actually,
there were a lot in Argentina, and it's really sad, and they didn't pay the price that they should have.
Yeah, no, totally. I think I think we do need a lot more kind of retroactive pundit accountability. Like if you see a confident green frog telling you things on the internet, like look at what the confident green frog said in 2018. It was, I remember I saw like again on Twitter, there was this Bitcoin maximalist that was, I think, like talking, like saying something about how like Ethereum is terrible in some way. And then back in 2018, he was shilling EOS and saying that, the 4 billion that went to block one is like totally okay. So yeah, no, like retroactive accountability is, I think in this space, in this context, important. Like, look at what people said 3 to 5 years ago. Look at look at some of the consequences of like things that people have been involved with over time. And I think like basically the longer someone stays in this space, the more you get a test of like what their true character is.
So, as beyond just what you said here, like I know that it bothers you really personally when transaction fees are high, like way more maybe than probably people would understand or expect. So I am curious. I've had this little campaign on Twitter that we have to have 4844, which is proto-dank sharding in the next hard fork, bundled with withdrawals. Do you have any stance on that? Do you support my campaign?
I would.
Maybe. Definitely maybe.
I mean, tentatively, yes. So I think like the world in which I would say no would be like a world where 4844 just like gets delayed by a year for like some like unexpected but ultimately good technical reason. And there's like, but the withdrawal code is just sitting there, and so there's no reason not to kind of just make it available for people.
Great.
So I think like we should we should leave that possibility open, but like I think as a default, like I'm totally in favor of just both of those things happening at the same time as the next big thing post merge.
Will Ethereum ever be done, or will we have ETH3 Justin Drake's vision?
I mean, I think ultimately this is, not up to me to decide, right? Like I'm just a guy in a Zoom call with a weird red and blue background behind me that's just like telling you stuff. Like my personal opinion, right, is the opinion that I expressed at the DCC event in France, where I basically said that, we have to have this period of rapid change in the next 2 years or so. Because it sets the stage for so many important things. Like it really moves Ethereum toward like what the Ethereum of the future just needs to be in order to be a viable chain. But once that's done, theoretically, I think it's totally possible for all the innovation to happen to layer 2 from that point. If we get in, like people wants to have enshrined rollups at some point, and we have good zk EVMs, and that's what people want to do, then like I would not be offended if that happens. But like my opinion right now is that like there's also no need for that to happen. But it's a far future question. Like I'm also, I mean. I personally, I guess I'm kind of spiritually okay with Ethereum going in either direction. I mean, not that it's, even if I wasn't spiritually okay, like, obviously, you guys could still do it and that would be fine. But I am. Yeah.
So now for an easy question. How do you solve inflation in Argentina?
Why not just like redenominate every year?
Oh, rebasing. That'll be controversial.
I remember someone actually tried to like push a stable coin that did that, and I tried to explain like, hey guys, this doesn't actually fulfill the role of being a stable coin, but like we still wanted to do it. No, but like actually I think preventing runaway inflation and even high inflation, it's a hard problem. It's a test that lots of countries, including countries run by very smart people, have failed at historically. And it's the sort of thing that like ultimately could happen to anyone, right? It's Argentina is not even the only place, right? Like in Turkey, the exchange rate against the US dollar has been dropping a lot recently. We even see US dollar, we saw US dollar euro parity for like the first time in decades a few weeks ago, right? So it's like, it does seem like there's a lot of like skill involved in kind of running a central bank for a fiat currency and having it, not break. And there's even debates about like on what time scales it's even possible to have that level of scale. I don't know. I kind of want to leave that debate up to other people, and I know there's different opinions on it. I feel like the thing that we as a crypto space can affect, right, is just making sure that if in case things in any particular country really starts to kind of go south monetary wise, people at least have access to other options.
So one last question, which is, how do you see the future of crypto? You know, personally, I think the flipping is gonna happen pretty soon, and Bitcoin is going to shake off the slumber of the last 6 or 7 years and become a real competitor to Ethereum again, and start building. Do you think that's do you think Bitcoin is the biggest long-term competition to Ethereum? I figured I'd end on something spicy, right?
That's actually an interesting question, right? Like, would Ethereum flipping Bitcoin by market cap like really kind of create a vibe shift inside Bitcoin that makes the kind of Bitcoin core dev elite and enough of the users be willing to be more risk seeking?
It seems like it's already starting to happen a little bit.
It is, yes. Like, I remember last year at BTC Miami. I think it was at the beginning of June. There were like kind of these really cringy videos, and you got the Max Kaiser and like all of this, and kind of like open pride of toxic maximalism. Like in retrospect, I think that actually like that was the peak, right? And it seemed like quietly there has been somewhat more pragmatism since then. Like I've talked to some very like smart Bitcoin people that are interested in doing roll-ups on Bitcoin, that are interested in like exploring other scaling technologies, that are interested in using zk snarks and all of this stuff. So what's the question? I guess is there a possibility that Bitcoin kind of pivots further if it realizes that like being the thing that doesn't change like kind of isn't a winning market position anymore? I think it might. It's interesting, right? Like it would be interesting to see exactly what technical path it takes and kind of what's the narrative, right? Because there are a lot of different narratives by which you would justify some kind of a switch to more rapid technical deployments, right? Like you could try to like do soft forks and stick things into sidecars. Like you could start expanding on side chains and kind of add zero knowledge proofs. You could talk about it as a layer 2, or it could even do some more radical base layer changes. I don't know. I don't know. Like I think like social movements are pretty chaotic and they're hard to predict. And sometimes like even the presence of a single kind of high quality dedicated champion of an idea can kind of make or break the difference between that idea being adopted. And so I think there's some chance that that totally does happen, and that would be an amazing future to see. And there's some chance that Bitcoin's going to decide that like, hey, being a rock is like basically our main differentiator. And there are all of these coins that value kind of trying to be super advanced on the technology, but that has its risks. But like none of them have the option of just being a rock. We have the option of just being a rock, and we're going to focus on that, right? In which case, like, even if Bitcoin drops to like, number 3 or number 4 or whatever, it'll just kind of keep being a rock, and there will continue to be a clientele that really values that. And that's like, still success for a cryptocurrency. So I don't know. I guess I think both could happen.
Well, I think we're over time. They're probably about to yank me off stage. So thank you, Vitalik.
No, thank you, Evan. Over there.
Awesome. Thank you, Evan and Vitalik. Now, Vitalik can only see Evan, but of course, this room is full of people. So we want to take a quick selfie to send over to Vitalik after the talk. So if everybody's ready, get big, get your arms up. Like, there we go. Awesome. All right, we're going to take a selfie. Want to do this?
All right.
Oh, I got to do the other side.
I can see you guys.
There you go. Amazing. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
There you go.